Hello, my name is Robert Pample, and I'm the director of the St. Louis University Honors Program. Thank you for taking the time to learn a little bit more about this distinctive academic program. The Honors Program at SLU traces its roots back to 1938, so we're over 80 years old. During the long history of the program at SLU, we've had the pleasure of educating some of the best and brightest students to come through the university's ranks, and we hope that you consider joining when you become a Billiken. Now, you may be thinking to yourself, what is the Honors Program at St. Louis University? How does it differ from my experience in high school? And how might it be different from some of the other honors programs and colleges I'm looking at across the country? Well, I'd like to start by first giving you a little bit of preview of what types of students make up this distinctive program. To begin with, our program comprises all academic majors at St. Louis University. We're one of the only all-encompassing honors programs at SLU, and we differ from some of the specialty academic programs like the pre-med scholars or the pre-law scholars, or any of the other specific major programs because we welcome students from all majors. Currently in our program of about 500 students, we have students from 64 different majors. Obviously, some of the STEM disciplines are well represented, like biology and neuroscience, but we also have students in engineering, nursing, physical therapy, history, English, business. And these major differences can become quite important for students because they allow our classes to exhibit a more interdisciplinary character. When you're in classes with students from different majors, you realize that engineers approach problems differently from physical therapy students and history students, and that exchange of ideas in an interdisciplinary and thoughtful context is really a hallmark of the honors experience. Our program is also made up of students from all across the country. Currently, we have students from 33 different states in the program. If you look at this map, you can see that in our most recent entering class, we have a primarily Midwestern concentration, but students do come to us from both coasts. And these geographic differences actually manifest in interesting ways in the classroom. Recently, we had a scholar from the history department at SLU give a lecture about the different waves of immigration in the United States and the ways in which certain areas of the country have longer histories with immigrant populations settling and making a life in the United States, and some have more recent waves of immigrants coming in. And so these kinds of regional differences actually affect the way people understand the American experience. And certainly there are other regional characteristics associated with people on the East Coast or the Southwest or the Midwest. And so when these students come together, they get to share these regional differences in rich and productive ways. So that can be an important part of your learning experience as well. This may not surprise you, but honor students also tend to be among the most active leaders on campus. They tend to be students who aspire to roles leading and founding organizations. And so in our group of about 500 students, we've got over 217 leaders in campus organizations. And beyond that, they're not just leading as the vice presidents of recruitment and finance and so on. Often they are occupying the highest role in each of these organizations. So currently we have 27 top officials in these chartered student organizations. The last 4 presidents of the Student Government Association have been members of the University Honors Programs. We have the editor-in-chief of the University News, the founder of the Overground Railroad tutoring organization. So if you are among the honors program students, you're going to be among students who are highly driven, highly motivated, and can benefit you along the way. As the old proverb goes, as iron sharpens iron, so one man sharpens another. And we think that our students are pretty sharp, and we're proud to have them among the ranks. Now, that's not to say that the honors program is somehow a separation between smart students and not smart students, because SLU is comprised of really thoughtful and smart students from all across the university, regardless of whether or not they're in the honors program. And so what I'd like to do is talk a little bit about what characterizes the honors program more specifically, and why you might find this to be an enriching academic community for you. As you know, we're situated here at St. Louis University, this Jesuit university, over 200 years old in St. Louis, Missouri. And if you spent any time on campus or you've talked to any current SLU students, you probably know that SLU has a certain characteristic or a quality about it that students often invoke when they talk about the special nature of studying at a place like SLU. So we do have a mission statement at the university, and it's here for you to read. I won't read it in full, but I do want to draw your attention to a couple important words. We are interested in academically successful students who can perform at a high level, but beyond that, we're interested in students who are intellectually curious, who are interested in establishing their own learning experiences, working together with their peers, but also working individually to advance their academic profile here at SLU. If I can leave you with one thing from this session, it's that the honors program at SLU is about not simply checking off boxes. It's a certain kind of attitude of thoughtfulness that should pervade all of your classes and get you to think about aspiring to ambitious ends, to thinking about the next step, whether it's a competitive fellowship or scholarship, a top-tier graduate school, an interesting research project. Unlike some honors programs at high school, we really try to promote more creativity and more autonomy of thought rather than simply doing more of a particular kind of experience. So that's what our program tries to stress. Certainly, the academic component of an honors experience tends to be a fairly pronounced aspect of any kind of serious intellectual experience. And so I'll start with the academics. Our academic experience is characterized by intimate classroom experiences organized around thoughtful topics of discussion, often found in smaller class sizes, discussion-based courses with professors. We're not always sitting around koi ponds discussing the great questions of the human mind, but this picture here represents the kind of learning experiences we aspire to create for all of our students. Beyond these big, thoughtful seminars, we're also encouraging students to engage in their own original research. We want students to share their gifts with the world, and there are a couple ways in which we do that, which I'll explain a little bit later. We also want students to engage in thoughtfulness about their place in the world. So we try to cultivate a spirit of global citizenship among students. Just this last winter, I had the privilege of joining 6 other students on a special honors-only study abroad trip to Belize, where we spent time at the Jesuit residence at St. John's College in Belize City. We had the opportunity to interact with local populations at the prison, Jesuit students at the local parish school. We also had a great time just exploring the rich cultural and natural landscape of Belize. So this is one example of how we try to do that. But probably most importantly, the honors experience is characterized by a certain kind of community of students who care about learning, who want to be there, who find sustenance in the relationships that they build with one another. This community is highly evident in the SLU learning community, the honors learning community, where students have the opportunity to take classes with a common group of students, to live amongst one another, and to share in that rich exchange of ideas that often occurs outside of the classroom. The honors learning community is located in Spring Hall, one of the newest residence halls on campus, which features suite-style living, academic spaces on each floor, as well as classrooms on the lower level where students often will take honors courses during the year. Successful completion of the honors learning community results in recognition as a learning community scholar, which results in a medallion that students get to wear upon graduation. Another benefit of membership in the honors program is priority registration, which means that students have the opportunity to register one day prior to other students at their grade level. This may not seem important now, but as you start to craft your own learning experiences in your major as you get to your upper level years, this kind of control over what your honors experience looks like, whether or not you are taking courses in the morning or the afternoon, can be quite a benefit to students, and it's a perk of being in the program. Another major element of the program that we really try to stress is our Investigative Learning Experiences grant. This is a nationally recognized program that allows honor students to compete for grants of up to $1,200 to carry out their own original research project or creative endeavor. These awards can facilitate really interesting and thoughtful projects that can lay the groundwork for acceptance into graduate school, or can simply provide the flourish on top of an otherwise very successful academic career. Here are a few examples of projects that students have done in recent years. Tom Bergen is a graduate from last year who was majoring in economics and had an interest in the music scene. He was what they would call a deadhead, somebody who really enjoyed the music of the Grateful Dead, but found an academic interest in it. And so he used his grant to travel to the University of California, Santa Cruz, where the Grateful Dead archives are located, to pursue an interesting and thoughtful interdisciplinary project in which he traced aspects of alternative economics in the music industry. His work was featured in the annual report for that archive, and he received a small exhibit based on his work. Jack Norris is a graduate this year who's finishing up his studies at SLU. He used his ILEX grant to travel to the Galapagos Islands, where he was conducting some biology research, and his grant facilitated some community outreach efforts in which he shared some of the research insights gained from the biological research expedition with local communities. It was his perception that oftentimes these researchers from more privileged economies and countries will go to certain locations and benefit from the rich fauna and flora there, but sometimes the local populations don't benefit as much. And so it was his goal to share some of those insights with the local population. Finally, Julia Griffin, another graduate from this year, went down to Peru in order to study the cost, quality, and access of healthcare in a small parish in rural Peru. She later returned to Peru after conducting a full IRB-approved study on these variables and then shared her insights with the local community. All of these are examples of things that one could do. We've got scores of other examples. Philosophy major who traveled to Belize to investigate the logistics of opening a fair trade chocolate company. We had a student in public health and sociology who did a study on homelessness in St. Louis, which laid the groundwork for his appointment as a Coro Fellow in Public Affairs following graduation, and currently his successful pursuit of a dual degree in public health and urban planning at Harvard University. So the ILEX grant can be a really wonderful way to cap off your experience at university and have something you can be proud of to share with the rest of your academic colleagues. One way of doing this is to share these insights with the national honors population. Last year, for the first time, we took students to the National Collegiate Honors Council, which is a conference, which is the national organization where hundreds of honors programs and colleges from around the country gather to showcase their research. So these two students, Julia and Susie, were able to present their research, both of which were funded by the ILEX grant, with the larger honors population. And we were really thrilled to allow the students to do that, but also to see themselves not just as honors students at SLU, but honor students in a larger national conversation where there are ambitious students doing really thoughtful and important work on subjects from across the academic disciplines. We also try to convey the importance of being a Jesuit honors program. And so we've had the opportunity in recent years to attend the Association of Jesuit Colleges and Universities, the AJCU Honors Consortium Conference. So on the right, 2 years ago, we took a group of students to Creighton University, where we had the opportunity to share insights with that population of students. And then last year, on the left, we decided to go to John Carroll University for another conference. In 2 years, in 2022, St. Louis University is going to be hosting this AJCU Honors Conference, which is a wonderful opportunity for students to take part in the planning and execution of a conference, but also to see themselves in community with students, honor students at Jesuit universities from around the country. Finally, a major benefit of being a part of the program is that you have wonderful access to advising for some of the most competitive fellowships and scholarships around the country. Our office is home to the advising function for these major awards like the Truman Scholarship, the Rhodes Scholarship, the Goldwater Scholarship, or the Fulbright Grant, which is the flagship international exchange program sponsored by the U.S. government. SLU students are highly competitive for these awards, even though they are incredibly competitive nationally. Because of the Jesuit mission of the institution, students' service disposition, their interest in social change, they tend to make really thoughtful applicants for these awards. Last year, we had 2 recipients of the Fulbright English Teaching Assistantship Grant, one to North Macedonia and one to Colombia, both of whom were honors graduates from St. Louis University. This year, we have students who are competing for the award again, and we'll find out in a few weeks whether or not they've been selected. This is not to say you have to apply for these awards, but honor students tend to make really wonderful applicants. We do advise students from around the university, so even if you don't choose to belong to the honors program, you can still take advantage of our advising services for any of these awards. I'd like to shift gears now and talk a little bit about the honors program requirements. Sometimes the students are thinking about the commitments that they've made or that they intend to make in college. They get a little worried about the number of things that they're taking on and whether or not they can all be done. I want to stress to you that the honors program is highly adaptable. It's designed to fit any major, and so our course experiences are fairly flexible. Unlike some other programs, we don't have a rigid plan in place that you have to follow in order to graduate. There are a number of ways to accomplish the requirements, but in general, they're separated into 2 main buckets: in-class, traditional classroom experiences, and out-of-class, more experiential learning opportunities. In total, it amounts to 24 honors credits, but many of these exist alongside your existing degree plan, so you don't have to worry about earning 24 credits in addition to whatever your degree plan calls for. I'll start first with an explanation of the honors in-class experiences, which are anchored by the honors CROSSROADS experience. This is the quintessential honors first year seminar in which students take up big, kind of intractable questions, what are sometimes known as wicked problems, and they attempt to answer them even though these questions defy simple explanations. The goal of this course is to lay a foundation of thoughtfulness that will carry students through to the rest of their time at SLU. The goal is not to impart any particular content, knowledge, or proficiency, but rather to get students to be thoughtful about a big topic. We have courses like Health and the Human Condition, Medicine and Freedom in the USA, Establishing a Worldview, What Makes a Life Significant, Jesuit History, and Catholic Traditions. We really encourage students to take a course that's different maybe from their major so that they can get exposure to a broad range of ideas. Another benefit of this class is that it's inclusive of students from all different majors. And so, again, as I mentioned earlier, you get all these perspectives coming to bear on a topic that really invites multiple perspectives. Beyond the Crossroads class, there are opportunities to earn credit through honors-only versions of Common Core classes in subjects like philosophy, theology, history, courses that you'd be taking anyway, but you can take in an honors format so that your discussion sections are smaller, you're being taught by a full professor, you're among other students who have a vigor for learning. The same is the case with cross-listed or dual-listed classes, where you can take the honors section of a course, and it gives you the structure in which to accelerate or enhance your learning. The goal is not simply to do more work for the sake of doing more work, but to do enriched work that's decided upon by you in consultation with your professor. The same is true of contracted classes or graduate level courses or independent studies. The goal is to give you an incentive to go beyond the syllabus, to capitalize on your interests, and to maybe make incremental progress towards a defining profile, an academic profile here at SLU. So these courses give you the opportunity to make connections with faculty who might someday become your letter writers, your referrals for graduate school, or simply your mentors as you negotiate your undergraduate career and your next steps beyond graduation. For your out-of-class experiences, this is really where the Jesuit mission of the program really shines through, because we want students to have experiences at SLU, but we also want them to reflect upon them and situate them in the context of their emerging professional or vocational identity. So a number of the experiences that we offer acknowledge credit for experiences that students often have in college, serving as a teaching assistant, studying abroad, participating in an internship, or completing a research activity. But in order to earn credit for it, students have to evidence their knowledge, the gains that they've made, either cognitively, emotionally, socially, professionally, by doing these different kinds of things. Students sprinkle these experiences in throughout the years. And so, again, there's no strict policy for when and how you complete these. There's just a number of opportunities available. We have a very distinctive program known as the International Partnership, which places SLU honor students in sustained conversations with English as second language students who are here at SLU, and that often results in some really rich exchanges of ideas, friendships across cultural boundaries, and memorable experiences for both groups. The out-of-class experiences are anchored by the CAPSTONE project, which is a signature senior-level research or creative project that's sometimes facilitated by the ILEX grant I mentioned earlier and sometimes carried out independently. But it's the opportunity for students to really leave an imprint on their experience at SLU and to graduate proud of the intellectual work that they've done here. We've got great examples of what students have done in previous years. In order to remain eligible for the honors program, students do have to maintain a 3.5 cumulative GPA, but we are always responsive on a case-by-case basis to students who may struggle in their first or second year or who are having other factors that affect their GPA. So it's not a quick dismissal from the program. Instead, it's a thoughtful conversation about what's going on, how we can be supportive, and whether or not it's the right fit for them. We have a number of ways to maintain students' affinity for and progress in the program. Primarily outside of the classes and the advising, we have a group called the Honors Student Association, which is the student programming arm of the honors program. The HSA plans events for honor students and helps to establish kind of a network of students that can flourish here at SLU. There's a mentorship program here, and they also host a number of events. Sometimes they'll just have a harmless event out in the natural world, going to the local apple orchard just to get out of their own headspace for an afternoon. Every year, we recognize the accomplishments of students with an annual banquet. We invite guest speakers to come and spend time with our students. And we do a little bit of service in the community with an organization called Almost Home, which provides educational services for young children so that their mothers can go to educational classes in the evenings. At this point, students will often wonder, well, how do I get into the program? What is the criteria that you look at? Well, we do look at minimum GPAs and test scores as a baseline for deciding who's eligible to apply. So a 3.8 cumulative grade point average and at least a 30 on the ACT. But beyond that, we're also looking at demonstrated leadership potential and a breadth of intellectual and community interests evidenced by a resume or a CV. And then beyond that, what we look for is the intellectual curiosity that students exhibit through our personal statement that we require on the application. Students who are looking to enter the program during their first year are required to apply to the honors program by December 1st of their senior year. But we always get students who join mid-year as well. So during their first semester, they realize this is something that they'd like to pursue, and they apply for entry in their spring semester. That's possible too. In either case, the most important thing that students can do beyond simply meeting these minimum criteria is to simply be themselves. Authenticity goes a long way in convincing application readers of their sincerity and their fit for a program. And so instead of trying to posture and say the kinds of things that you think application readers want to hear, speak on behalf of the things that you care most about. You'll speak more convincingly, more authentically, with more passion if you choose to do that. And so all of these things together kind of make up the type of applicant who succeeds with us in the honors program. If what you've heard makes you think you'd like to learn more about the program, we invite you to spend a little time on our website at slu.edu/honors. You can also visit our Facebook and Instagram accounts at SLU Honors, or you can contact us at the information here, honors@slu.edu or 314-977-3951. If you're able to click the video link here on the page, that will also take you to a set of testimonials from some recent graduates who can affirm, hopefully, a lot of what I've been saying here. And you might see yourself reflected in some of their answers. Certainly don't hesitate to ask any questions of us or of your admission counselor if you have anything else you'd like answered. We wish you the best of luck in your college search, and we hope to see you here at SLU before too long. Thank you.